Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary and General Dempsey and your entire team. I guess I can say that this is a room where we always look up to you, Mr. Secretary, but we do appreciate your service. In San Antonio, military city as we call it in Texas, as I'm sure in a number of other cities across America, there has been concern, or at least great interest, in your comments about base realignment and closure. San Antonio, as you know, actually gained, though it was a traumatic gain, with the closure of Brooks Air Force Base there in the last round. The city, under the leadership of Mayor Castro, has already reached out with Port San Antonio to find, I think, about 139 additional acres if there's a need for expansion at Lackland. We see the 24th Air Force Cyber Command there as a place where cyber warfare alternatives can be provided to those facilities that we have here in the Washington area. I think that the proposal that Senator Hutchison and Senator Tester have put forward to include overseas bases in any of that review, that there at least needs to be a mechanism in any future BRAC to consider where our overseas commitments are, even though there are treaties and other things to consider, and would just ask you to consider that as you go forward. And then, of course, all of us have thousands of veterans in our areas and people that are military retirees. You have a number of proposals that you're considering that would impact those military retirees. Can we assure those who are retired now or who are nearing retirement that they can feel that their retirement on fixed income is secure?
With regards to your last question, yes. Our goal with regards to looking at retirement, we've made clear, the President's made clear, that any changes that people ought to be grandfathered in who are serving in the military, who have served or are about to retire, that they will get full retirement benefits as promised to them. Our goal is to try to look to the future and see what reforms we can make with regards to those that will join the armed forces in the future. With regards to your overseas bases question, and I understand exactly what the thrust of the legislation is about. We do have the authority to close bases overseas, obviously, pursuant to the treaties. We'd have to do it pursuant to the treaties and the diplomatic relationships that we may have. But nevertheless, we have, over the last few years, cut almost 100 bases overseas. We are in the process of taking down 2 of the 4 brigades in Europe, and that will involve some additional infrastructure reductions as well. So I'm trying to do this on the basis of substance. What is it we need to have? What is it we need to maintain? And that's the basis on which we're approaching it in the Defense Department.
2 even more controversial issues. One of them, I believe you are doing everything you can to seek a non-military approach to Iran. And I would just encourage that you continue to do that. It is difficult to see, while all options have to be on the table, how military intervention there can do anything but make our families less secure. And secondly, in Afghanistan, I know that your remarks have caused some extended public discussion and will continue to do so about our future in Afghanistan. I view Colonel Danny Davis. I've read his article in the Armed Forces Journal and I'm aware of his other comments. I'm sure they were not well received in some quarters, but as a hero who spoke out about the troubles that we have there in our policies in Afghanistan. What happened there this past weekend in a very secure area where brave Americans were killed by people in Afghan uniforms, I know is troubling to all of us. I think your comments that we were prepared to move forward in 2014, unlike some of my colleagues, I'd like to see you move more quickly rather than more slowly, and encourage looking at our policy there to find a way to assure our security, having achieved many of our goals, assure our security without as broad a footprint as we have today. And I thank you, Mr. Secretary.
I appreciate that. With regards to Afghanistan, we really have, I think, turned a corner in 2011 with regards to Afghanistan. We were able to weaken the Taliban. We were able to reduce the level of violence there. The Afghan army, for the first time, really engaged and performed well and took over the key security responsibilities in key areas. We are in a process of transitioning areas now to Afghan control and security. We've just completed a second tranche, which will represent over 50% of the population of Afghanistan now being under Afghan control and security. And we're going to continue that process. The remaining tranches will take place, the final tranche will take place in 2013. And our goal at that time then is to obviously move towards having the Afghans take the lead on combat operations with our support. We'll still be in combat mode and support, but we're going to try to be able to move that responsibility over to the Afghans, but maintain our transition through the end of 2014. NATO is unified on that path. It represents what we agreed to in Lisbon. I think it's the right path. Even with the events, I might say, over the last weekend, I have to tell you that the Afghan army performed well. They controlled the demonstrations. The level of violence was able to go down, and they performed very well, which gives us additional confidence that these guys can do the job that we've asked them to do.
Thank you.